So, welcome back for episode 3 of Exploring Skyrim's gameplay systems. We're going to start to move into the progression systems and take a quick look at how they function. And then following that, we should be getting into some fun stuff. So what we're going to look at here, in case you feel like you can skip it, is how skills level up, how skills leveling up affect character leveling up, what each of the skills pretty much do, and how you level up each of the skills, roughly. So here is the skill tree, or the skill trees I should say. As you can see, each skill, heavy armor, block, two-handed, one-handed, has its own independent level. There's a ton of skills. I think it's about 21 different types, and I think they're split 7-7-7 between red combat, green stealth, and blue magic. And basically how they work is pretty simple. Whenever you do an action relating to a skill, it levels up, or it gains experience. When the experience bar fills up, you gain a level in that skill, and that skill and abilities relating to that skill typically become more effective. So let's go and have a look at leveling up one-handed. I think, oh, yeah, there we go. I was even closer. So she's dead. And this woman already knows where I am, so there's no point sneaking, but hey ho, I've started, so I'll finish. Bump, 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 bump.
Is someone there?
Oh, no, maybe she doesn't. I'll go for the sneak. Can I show off the pickpocketing skill that I haven't shown off yet?
Time to end this
nope.
little game. I'll paint the snow with your blood.
Oh, that's a dirty crispy finishing move. Bum, bum, bum. Right. Okay then. So, look at the skills now. One-handed has increased from 20 to 21, and I have a small amount of XP already in this level from the last remaining hits. Basically, the skills scale off slightly different actions, and I will talk through a few of those in a minute. But for the most part, it's over anything that you would consider a successful one-handed action, a successful archery action. So one-handed, it's about the damage you deal. Archery, it's about landing shots and the damage you deal. Blocking, it's about any bashes or any damage mitigated by successful blocks. Heavy armor scales with like the amount of damage you take. Smithing, from the items you craft. You know, this is the sort of thing, and these all the ones in magic scale when you successfully use one of the magic skills. Speeches scales up when you buy and sell, and you manage to do persuasion attempts. And what I mean by persuasion attempts is like, hey, I'm a bandit, I'm going to attack you, but let's have a chat first. And you're like, whoa, hold up, bandit, here's 25 gold, be gone. And he's like, oh, great idea, 25 gold, I'll go home. So anytime you do one of those successfully, you level up. Pickpocketing, self-explanatory, you pickpocket, you level up. Lock picking, same applies, you pick locks, it goes up. Sneaking, anytime you sneak in the proximity of an area of an enemy, or even any NPCs, that levels up. Any NPCs other than those tagged by the game systems as doesn't affect stealth meter, I believe, because there's some NPCs that do not affect stealth meter, so you can't just sneak around next to your companions and your followers, for example. Light armor, same as heavy armor when you take damage. That's basically how it works. Now, in terms of what they do, it's a little bit different for each of them. I want to try and stay fairly high level with this, but basically, as you level up skills, they increase your effectiveness in that area through statistical changes. So the combat skills of one-handed, archery, and two-handed, these all increase the damage you deal with that type of weapon as the number increases. It's incremental over the game, and it has a fairly big impact, you know, between like level 5 and level 100, but you know, it's not the be-all and end-all. You could use a bad weapon, you could use a very good weapon with a low skill level and have it be okay, but for the most part it's pretty impactful. Blocking increases the amount of damage that you can actually block from physical attacks. Heavy armor increases the armor rating of the armor of that type that you have equipped. So if you equip 4 pieces of heavy armor, each piece of armor has its armor rating boosted by your heavy armor level. Smithing increases... I don't think smithing increases the quality of items you produce. I think smithing increases the... Because basically, I'll show this off later, but when you smith an item, you make a base level item, and then, like in MMOs and loot-based games, you can upgrade the item to kind of fair, to good, to advanced, and to masterful and legendary, that type of thing. I think the names are wrong, but let's not worry about it. And they'll kind of like increase the armor rating by 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100% respectively. And I think as your smithing goes up and you acquire perks, the amount you can temper items by improves. I might be wrong. It might affect the base armor rating on the items, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. In fact, no, I'm sure it doesn't. Enchanting increases the power of enchants. Enchants is just a system where you put fire, lightning, and ice enchantments on a weapon, and they deal elemental damage in addition to their standard damage. Or you can also get like absorb health enchants and that sort of thing, or on equipment to like increase fire resistance, or buff the block skill when this item's equipped, that type of thing. So it just it levels up when you perform the action, and it just makes the enchant more effective. And the rest of the skills, now the magic skills are one of the weirdest ones that I do want to come back and talk about later. Would be redesigning the magic system in Skyrim. When you level up the magic skills, they don't do more damage. And this is bizarre. This means that magic doesn't scale fantastically into the game. In fact, quite the opposite. It scales very poorly. A move that is good at level 1 will not be very good by level 30. So yeah, that's basically how this works. And I want to talk in depth about the magic later, but typically it just reduces the magicka that it costs to use that spell. Speech improves prices, pickpocketing enhances the chances of actually getting stuff out, of actually stealing something without getting caught. Lockpicking makes the sweet spot bigger, so if you're kind of looking around an arc here, it'll just make the sweet spot from maybe like this area to like that area. So it makes the sweet spot much bigger. Sneak makes you harder to detect, obviously, and that's about it. That's about everything we're looking at. Light is the same as heavy. So that is the skill system. That's how it works. They basically make the actions and gear in those related areas more effective. So the armor skills make the armor more effective. Crafting skills make things you craft, then that's smithing and enchanting, far more effective. And the same for alchemy. Where is alchemy? Alchemy is there. Because I haven't spoken about it. You can craft potions by combining ingredients. You level it up by crafting potions and consuming raw ingredients, and this basically just makes them more effective the higher the level is. There is also a perk system which underlies the skill level, which is the constellations you can see in the background. Let's talk about the smithing one because it's the cleanest and doesn't require as much discussion. As you can see, there are multiple perks for each skill, and this is just the smithing tree. The lines represent prerequisites, so you start at the bottom here with steel smithing. You can create steel armor and weapons at forges and improve them twice as much. Weirdly, I believe this also includes leather armor, steel being the heavy, leather being the light, but it doesn't say. I might be wrong, leather might be default, but I seem to remember leather requiring this perk. So perk prerequisites are of 2 types, I think. The actual level, so we can see our smithing level is currently 20, is it? Yeah, so we could buy this perk, no problem, if I had a perk point. We'll talk about that in a minute. And this one I'm not allowed because it says requires 30. I couldn't jump ahead and buy elven smithing straight away. Even if I was level 30, I would require the one beneath it in the tree, so the steel smithing. So that's how perks work. and I want to come back and talk about perk design much more later. I'm intending to split, I guess, the redesign sections of this series into 3 major chunks. I'm going to talk about redesigning combat. I'm going to talk about redesigning melee combat. Redesigning ranged combat might get bundled in. I want to talk about redesigning the magic systems and the magic progression systems, and maybe a little bit of talk on redesigning the non-combat skills and the stealth skills as well. And again, if you remember in the very first video, I stated that the systems in this game are very intertwined. You can't just talk about progression or just talk about combat, because they are so tied. So I think it makes more sense to talk about how we'd actually change the way melee combat works, and how we'd like melee combat to physically play, and how we change the perks and potentially some of the leveling in the encounters to make that even more satisfying. So finally, before we close up, we'll talk about how this plays in to character level. Now I'm going to come back in the very next video and talk about character level and relative progression, but for this part it's really simple. So let's just falsely level me up. You can see I'm just over halfway through level 1. When I gain a skill point, in one-handed for example, my character level receives the experience from, it goes level 20 to 21, boom, your character level gains some experience. But my actions, the fighting, do not add to my character experience, only the skill level ups. Now, your character level receives more experience if the skill you've leveled up is of a higher level. So let me see if I've got any really low level skills that I can A, spell, and B, increase. I think 15 is the lowest I've got. So if we look, I'm just over 50% of the way through level 1 now, and if I type into the console commands player.inc PCS marksman, sorry, the reason I'm typing marksman and not archery here is because the stat is labeled as archery but programmed as marksman, I believe. So all the console commands relate to marksman. I believe that was the name of it in previous Elder Scroll titles. Thinking back, I think it was in Oblivion. I can't remember Morrowind. So INC PCS player dot, the other way around obviously, will increase my marksman level by 1. There we go. Archer increased by 1. So you can see I gained a bit of XP there. Just a little bit. Just a little. Now if we flip back onto the skill tree, what's my highest level? Two-handed. So I gain just a bit of XP for that. Whereas if I do a two-handed, player.inc PCS, oh god, how do we do this one? Because it's 2 words. It's two-handed. Oh, like that. I received substantially more XP there. I think it was actually around double just for the difference between level 15 to 16 and 25 to 26. So I mean, when you look at that, that is a massive amount of XP difference for getting higher level skills. So what it means in terms of overall level progression is that to continue to level, if you're trying to get character level up, you should be leveling your highest skills. And it's quite nice because it means that if you are a high level, and let's say you've got to level, like, let's say, call it 20, through doing mostly one-handed and two-handed, one-handed and block and heavy armor, and you decide that actually you want to swap out and you want to start training up archery and stealth. That'll do. Archery, light armor, and stealth. You can do it. You can do it. And you'll still gain character levels while you're leveling those things up. They'll definitely be underpowered for a while, but you won't gain as many character levels as you would do for leveling up your primary skills. Aha! And that is, the game has crashed at a perfect time. So as you can see, here's all previously recorded video clips and shadow play. I'm going to come back in the next video and talk about relative progression in this title alongside retraining characters, that last topic we just started to cover there, and some of the issues with retraining characters in the Elder Scroll games, particularly in Skyrim. So that'll be next time, episode 4, I believe.